Miguel.
No, my name is not Miguel.
You have no responsibility here. You can go.
No, please, forget what?
Oh, Miguel, please.
Sorry, baby. When I get going, I get carried away.
You all right, Sal?
Oh, I think so.
What did, young lady?
The door out of the ceiling on top of me! On top of
Lisa, the
me!
chandelier didn't fall.
What you are about to see is a matter of human record.
What you're about to see is a matter of human record.
With these words, delivered in a composed yet intense gaze into the camera, John Newland invited millions of television viewers to journey with him into the unknown. Not through fiction or fantasy, but through what he claimed were documented cases of the paranormal.
Hi.
Hi.
This was One Step Beyond, a television series that dared to present the supernatural not as fiction, but as fact. When One Step Beyond premiered on ABC in January 1959, America was caught between the optimism of post-war prosperity and the paranoia of the Cold War. The space race had begun, UFO sightings were regularly making headlines, and the public's fascination with the unexplained was reaching new heights. Into this cultural moment stepped a show that promised something unprecedented. Real stories of supernatural events presented with journalistic gravity. Produced on a modest budget by Collier Young at California Studios, One Step Beyond didn't have the luxury of expensive special effects or elaborate sets. What it did have was an approach that set it apart from its contemporaries. While most science fiction of the era openly embraced its fictional nature, One Step Beyond presented itself as a documentary series, giving it a unique position in television history. The show arrived 1 year before Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone would captivate audiences with its twist endings and moral parables. But unlike Serling's fictional tales, Newland insisted that every story on One Step Beyond had actually happened. This documentary approach to the paranormal would influence generations of television, creating a template that continues to shape how we present the unexplained on screen to this very day. For 3 seasons and 96 episodes, One Step Beyond invited viewers to consider the possibility that reality might be stranger, more mysterious, and more profound than our everyday experience suggests. It was television that didn't just entertain. It challenged viewers to question the very nature of reality itself. A woman sits alone in her house when suddenly, without warning, every clock stops simultaneously. A World War II pilot flying over the Pacific sees the ghost of his dead brother guiding him to safety. A man dreams of a terrible mine disaster the night before it actually occurs. These aren't Hollywood inventions. According to One Step Beyond, these were documented events that defied rational explanation. One Step Beyond achieved its distinctive atmosphere through deliberate technical choices that elevated the show beyond its modest budget. The series was shot entirely in black and white. A decision that wasn't merely economic, but artistic. The stark contrast between light and shadow created a documentary-like authenticity that color television couldn't have achieved. Episodes like The Dream, where a mother experiences premonitions about her son's death, used shadowy cinematography to create a sense of impending doom that feels more like a newsreel than a scripted drama. What's particularly impressive about the show's visual approach was the restraint shown by directors. Unlike later paranormal programs, One Step Beyond rarely depicted explicit supernatural phenomena. Instead, it relied on suggestion, reaction shots, and the power of human performance to convey the uncanny. In Emergency Only, one of the series' most memorable episodes, the horror of a telephone that mysteriously calls the future is never actually shown.
He's nervous.
It's conveyed entirely through the mounting dread on actors' faces and carefully controlled pacing. the sound design of One Step Beyond deserves special recognition as a crucial element of its effectiveness. The series employed minimalist music that never overwhelmed the narrative, but subtly enhanced the growing tension. Unlike the iconic, theremin-heavy scores that would later define science fiction television, One Step Beyond used sparse, often discordant piano notes and subtle string arrangements. This restrained approach to music created an atmosphere of unease that felt journalistic rather than theatrical. In episodes like The Burning Girl, about a young woman who seemingly starts fires with her mind, the carefully timed silence between musical cues creates as much dread as any visual element. The show's directors, including John Newland himself, who helmed nearly a third of the episodes, employed a visual language borrowed from documentary filmmaking. They utilized extended takes, natural lighting when possible, and a camera that often maintained a respectful distance from the subjects, as though documenting rather than dramatizing events. This visual approach was revolutionary for paranormal content, creating a sense that viewers were witnessing evidence rather than entertainment. The episode Doomsday, which chronicles a man's precognitive visions of disaster, uses handheld camera work during key moments, unusual for scripted television of that era, to create a sense of immediate reality. The production faced unique challenges in its mission to present true paranormal incidents. Researchers for the show combed through psychical research journals, newspaper accounts, and personal testimonies to find stories compelling enough for television adaptation. This research-based approach added an air of credibility that fiction-based shows couldn't match, even if the actual evidence behind many episodes remains questionable by scientific standards. Perhaps the most fascinating behind-the-scenes aspect of One Step Beyond was host John Newland's personal commitment to paranormal investigation. For the controversial episode The Sacred Mushroom, Newland actually ingested hallucinogenic mushrooms on camera in one of television's earliest documented psychedelic experiences. This was ostensibly to investigate claims about enhanced psychic abilities, but it demonstrated the show's willingness to push boundaries in ways that even modern television rarely attempts. Newland's experiment predated mainstream scientific interest in psychedelics and showcased the show's pioneering spirit. The technical production of One Step Beyond created something unique in television, a show that used the visual language of documentary filmmaking to explore the most fantastical claims about human experience. Without relying on special effects or elaborate set pieces, it created an atmosphere of credible mystery that many higher-budget productions have tried and failed to replicate in the decades since. At the center of One Step Beyond stood John Newland, the series host, director of many episodes, and its public face. Unlike Rod Serling's intense, cigarette-punctuated introductions in The Twilight Zone, Newland presented himself as a serious investigator, more journalist than showman. With his composed demeanor and measured delivery, he created an atmosphere of credibility essential to the show's premise. When Newland looked directly into the camera and stated, "We are dealing with the incredible, that which is beyond understanding," viewers believed him. His gravitas transformed what could have been merely entertaining tales into experiences that felt like genuine glimpses into the unknown. Despite its modest budget, One Step Beyond attracted remarkable talent, including many actors who would later become household names. A young Warren Beatty appeared in The Visitor, delivering a nuanced performance as a troubled young man haunted by his past. William Shatner, years before commanding the Enterprise, starred in The Promise, portraying a man whose fiancée seemingly communicates with him after death. These performances weren't marked by the overacting common in genre television of the era. Instead, they possessed a naturalistic quality that reinforced the documentary approach of the series. Among the most powerful episodes was the Peter Herkos story, a two-part account of a Dutch house painter who claimed to develop psychic abilities after falling from a ladder and suffering brain damage. The episode's strength came from actor Albert Salmi's grounded portrayal of Herkos, showing both the wonder and burden of suddenly perceiving beyond normal human limits. The episode exemplified how One Step Beyond connected individual paranormal experiences to deeper human emotions and struggles. Another standout installment, Emergency Only, followed a woman who receives telephone calls from her future self, warning of her husband's impending death. The episode's power came not from spectacle, but from its exploration of fate and free will, themes that connected to profound Cold War anxieties about whether individuals could control their own destinies in an uncertain world. The performances throughout the series shared a common quality. They treated the paranormal with seriousness rather than sensationalism. Characters experiencing supernatural events weren't presented as hysterical or unhinged, but as ordinary people confronting extraordinary circumstances. This approach connected the paranormal to everyday human experience, suggesting that anyone, including the viewer, might find themselves stepping beyond the boundaries of conventional reality. The stories featured in One Step Beyond reflected post-war America's complex relationship with authority, science, and the unknown. At a time when nuclear physics had transformed warfare and the space race was beginning, the show suggested that despite scientific advancement, reality remained fundamentally mysterious. This resonated with audiences navigating a world that seemed increasingly beyond individual comprehension, a theme that continues to give the series relevance decades after its original broadcast. When One Step Beyond first aired in 1959, it was received with a fascinating mixture of skepticism and fascination. Television critics of the era approached the show with the same divided reaction that would follow paranormal content for decades to come. The New York Times noted its compelling presentation of the inexplicable, while skeptical reviewers questioned the show's claims of factuality. This tension between believers and doubters became part of the show's appeal. Viewers tuned in not just for entertainment, but to make their own judgments about these supposedly true accounts. The series enjoyed solid ratings during its original run, particularly among viewers intrigued by its documentary approach. However, it was eventually overshadowed by The Twilight Zone, which debuted in October 1959. While Serling's anthology series acknowledged its fictional nature, it ultimately captured more of the cultural zeitgeist with its twist endings and moral allegories. One Step Beyond maintained a dedicated following, but its insistence on presenting true stories eventually became both its distinguishing feature and its limitation as audiences became more scientifically skeptical through the 1960s. Perhaps the most controversial aspect of the series was the aforementioned Sacred Mushroom episode, where John Newland consumed hallucinogenic mushrooms on camera in 1961. This episode caused significant network concern, with ABC executives initially reluctant to air such explicit drug content. The episode finally aired but was later difficult to find in syndication packages. Today, it stands as a remarkable time capsule of pre-counterculture psychedelic exploration, predating mainstream America's awareness of such substances by several years. After its cancellation in 1961, One Step Beyond entered syndication, where it continued to find new audiences. In 1978, Newland attempted to revive the series with The Next Step Beyond, using the same format but with updated stories and color filming. This revival lasted only a single season, suggesting that the original's black and white presentation was integral to its documentary feel and credibility. A fascinating hidden detail about One Step Beyond was its connection to real parapsychological research of the era. The show's technical advisor, Dr. Andrija Puharic, was a legitimate, if controversial, researcher who conducted experiments in ESP and telepathy. His involvement gave the show access to cases being studied by the parapsychological community and created a bridge between entertainment and actual paranormal investigation. This connection to real research was rarely publicized, but added another layer of authenticity to the series' approach. Another little-known aspect of the show was that several episodes were filmed on location in Europe, unusual for American television of that era. These international productions, including The Sacred Mushroom, filmed in Mexico, gave portions of the series a worldly perspective that expanded its scope beyond typical American television boundaries. As television evolved, One Step Beyond found itself in an unusual position, not quite forgotten, but existing in a liminal space between cult classic and historical footnote. Its influence, however, would prove more significant than its direct recognition might suggest, laying groundwork for generations of paranormal documentary programming that would follow. The true measure of One Step Beyond lies not in its initial reception, but in the long shadow it has cast over paranormal television in the decades since its cancellation. Though John Newland's pioneering series may not be a household name today, its DNA is unmistakably present in countless shows that followed in its wake. When Robert Stack narrated Unsolved Mysteries, with its dramatic recreations of supposedly true paranormal events, he was walking a path that Newland had cleared 3 decades earlier. Modern programs like Paranormal Witness and My Haunted House follow directly in the tradition of presenting dramatized, true, supernatural encounters with the gravitas of documentary presentation. Perhaps the most significant legacy of One Step Beyond was how it legitimized the presentation of paranormal content as potentially factual on mainstream television. Before this series, supernatural content was largely confined to explicitly fictional formats like horror films or radio dramas. By adopting the visual language and presentational style of documentaries, One Step Beyond created a new hybrid format that suggested the paranormal deserved serious consideration. This approach would later be adopted by countless cable television programs and eventually lead to the entire paranormal reality TV genre that exploded in the early 2000s. The series also pioneered the formula of the charismatic, authoritative host who guides viewers through supernatural territory. When viewers today watch series hosted by figures like Josh Gates of Expedition Unknown or the investigators on Ghost Hunters, they're experiencing a hosting approach that owes a significant debt to John Newland's measured, serious presentation style. Newland showed that paranormal content didn't need to be presented with carnival barker sensationalism to be compelling. Sometimes the most effective approach was one of serious inquiry. Today, One Step Beyond enjoys a modest but dedicated cult following. The series has been periodically available on streaming services and DVD collections, allowing new generations to discover its unique approach to the supernatural. What strikes modern viewers is often how different the pacing and presentation are from contemporary paranormal content. The show takes its time, builds atmosphere gradually, and trusts the viewer's intelligence and patience in ways that feel refreshingly adult compared to many modern counterparts. The show's central premise, that reality contains more mystery than we conventionally acknowledge, continues to resonate in our current era of scientific advancement. Despite our technological sophistication, fundamental questions about consciousness, perception, and the nature of reality remain unanswered. In a world where quantum physics presents paradoxes that challenge our basic understanding of reality, the humble black and white tales of One Step Beyond still touch on something profound about human experience and our relationship with the unknown. As we navigate our own era of uncertainty, where established truths seem increasingly in flux, perhaps there's something comforting in revisiting a series that acknowledged both the mystery and documented nature of human experience. John Newland's closing words from numerous episodes still echo with relevance. We have brought you what we believe to be an authentic record of inexplicable events in the lives of real people. We leave it to you to decide. Have you ever experienced something that defied rational explanation? Something that made you wonder if there might be more to reality than our everyday perception suggests? If so, you're not alone. The stories of One Step Beyond continue to remind us that throughout human history, ordinary people have sometimes found themselves taking one step beyond the boundaries of conventional reality. If you enjoyed this exploration of television's pioneering paranormal series, please subscribe for more journeys into overlooked classics that shaped our media landscape.